Have you ever skipped self-care? Not because you didn't need it, but because you felt like you couldn't do it perfectly? I've been there. And if you've experienced complex PTSD, perfectionism can make even resting feel impossible. So today, I want to give you a simple truth that changed my life. And that is that any care is better than none.
Welcome to Reclaiming Me, a trauma-informed podcast helping women with complex PTSD heal the lasting impact of childhood attachment wounds from parents and caregivers, so you can finally release people-pleasing and perfectionism and learn to trust in relationships, beginning with the one you have with yourself. I'm your host, Cindy Payne, therapist, trauma specialist, and a woman who has walked this path both personally and professionally.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Reclaiming Me. I'm Cindy Payne, your host. And in the last full-length episode on Monday, we talked about how perfectionism can hijack self-care. Perfectionism can keep your body in a stress state, and it can also make rest feel unsafe. So in today's micro episode, we are going to flip that on its head. We are going to explore what self-care really looks like when you have trauma and perfectionism, and why small, imperfect actions matter more than you think. Here's the truth. Perfectionism tells you if I can't do it right, then it doesn't count. But healing, especially when you've survived trauma, says, what is the smallest thing that I can do for myself right now? Small actions actually matter more than big gestures because small actions signal to your nervous system that you are safe, that you are cared for, and most importantly, that you can downshift. Trauma survivors often live in constant activation. So even resting can feel very unsafe. And that's why doing something small is revolutionary. It teaches your body that it's okay to slow down. And I love today's topic because it makes me think of a line from Glennon Doyle's, I believe it was in her book, Untamed, where she talks about the next right step. She talks about when you're feeling overwhelmed and anxious and you're caught up in the swirl of control and perfecting. It's really hard to be able to break it down sometimes into the next right step. We are so focused on the whole picture and doing everything in front of us to keep ourselves in that certainty seat, which is really just the false sense of safety. But if we can break it down into next right step, small steps, what our body begins to do is it begins to learn to trust that if I just take this next right step in front of me, then I will make it across the bridge. And if you listened to Monday's full-length episode, I shared a little bit about my experience in Peru, where I went in with this expectation that I was going to soften through the spiritual retreat, through the help of plant medicine, but I was also not willing to give up my rigid marathon training schedule. And when I was told that I was not allowed to run, that indeed I did have to put the things into action to support my goal of softening, which is to rest, my self-care got a lot smaller, my definition, I guess you could say, and it got more creative. So I really shifted into this menu-based choice board, I guess you could call it, of self-care. So instead of forcing runs, I went for gentle walks. Still doing them. Instead of pushing workouts, I danced. And instead of structured routines, I explored my creativity. I also tried new forms of play, like the talking stick workshop in Sedona that I talked a little bit about, just using my hands to create something with no goal, no right way to do it. Everybody's stick ended up looking very different. And at first, it felt really awkward. But slowly, this process began to feel like freedom to choose, freedom to create without a right outcome. And what I noticed coming away from both Peru and Sedona is that my nervous system really started to move into this deep state of relaxation. And so this week, specifically with my self care, it has included things like stretching, not necessarily in a yoga class, but I actually just got on the floor in my office and did some stretches in between clients because that's what my body was calling for. Taking a walk outside, sitting outside with my coffee in the morning instead of my normal routine, which is to sit on the couch and do my journaling and then my meditating. Do you see how self-care can kind of become this checklist? Giving myself that option to go outside and just sit with my coffee. That can be a morning meditation. I don't have to put pen to paper. I don't have to be listening to something that's guided. I shared on Monday's episode too that I participated in my first sober dance situation. It's called ecstatic dancing. And there's a DJ out in Sedona, I forget his name, but he goes out every Thursday to this beautiful backdrop where sober folks are outdoors and he is just playing music and people are just dancing because what they're doing is they're practicing embodiment without being under the influence of a substance. And had you had told me 5-6 years ago that I would be doing that, I would have laughed at you. I would have been like, no way in hell I'm going to be out there dancing totally stone cold sober with other people who are also sober because it's vulnerable. It has felt weird to me in the past. I've never felt comfortable doing something like that. And I'm not going to lie, it was uncomfortable at first. But then if you can just let your body kind of drop into it, it actually became sort of fun, dare I say, creative, freeing. So another thing on my menu has been trying to be more intentional with taking short walks. So at the end of the day, especially, I really enjoy a walk because it helps me downshift and get ready for my evening. It's very calming to me. Or maybe just resting, maybe just not even having to announce it. I used to be the person that when I would nap, I would feel really guilty. So I would like tell my family members, like, I didn't sleep well last night, or I've been up late these last 4 or 5 nights. My sleep hasn't been great. So I'm going to go try to take a nap. It was almost as if I was like trying to qualify it. But I found myself the other day just being like, all right, I'm going to go in the other room for about an hour and a half. So please, like, just, I'm turning my phone off. So don't call me unless something's on fire. Right. So every single item on your menu counts, and you don't have to do everything on your menu. Again, any care is better than no care. Even tiny imperfect actions send the message to your body that I'm here, I'm safe right now, and I'm choosing myself. I think our marketing, everywhere we look, self-care has been kind of packaged and sold to us as something that if we do this, then we're going to get this from it. So if I do this facial mask, I'm going to look more youthful and more refreshed. If I go get a mani-pedi and call that self-care, then I'll look more put together. If I go, I don't know, get a massage or something like that, then that's something that I do because I have worked for it. So I'm only going to allow myself to do that once a quarter or something like that as like a quote reward, but then I'm going to call it self-care. But that's not it at all. We are missing the mark because self-care is, to me, especially as a CPTSD survivor, it's about showing up for myself in a way that feels possible and not perfect. And I think that's been the biggest shift for me. And so, as you are considering maybe adopting more of a menu style or moving away from perfecting the self-care act into just dabbling in it and seeing what feels good in your body, I want you to remember that number one, small care is powerful care because it teaches your nervous system safety over time. So even if you only have 10 minutes, right, it is so important to engage in that because your nervous system is learning that it doesn't have to be this big production. It's like, oh, I can dip in and dip out. This is reliable, right? Like the sun isn't going anywhere. The outdoors are always available for me. I can close my eyes for 10 minutes. It's always here. It's consistent. And number two, any care at all breaks perfectionism's hold. You are honoring however it gets to show up that day, not just perfectly. And then number three, non-traditional self-care can look like play, creativity, movement or rest. And the play and creativity piece counts just as much as the structured routines. So what I would invite you to do is see where you might be able to apply this over the course of, let's say, this next week. So your permission slip for today is to pick one thing from your menu of care. And if you haven't created a menu, I'm going to really strongly encourage you to sit down and create that menu. And do that one thing for 2 to 5 minutes. Let's start small and let it count without judging it. I think that's the key part here. That's it. That's healing. That is self-care. And it is enough. And finally, just please remember that you do not have to do everything and you don't have to do it perfectly. So small, consistent, safe actions are how your body and your mind begin to trust themselves again. So I can't wait to hear and see what you all are engaging in as part of this self-care menu practice. And I look forward to seeing you guys back next week on another full-length episode of Reclaiming Me. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope you leave feeling a little lighter, a little more grounded, and a little closer to trusting yourself and your inner experience. If this episode resonated with you, please follow or subscribe so future conversations can meet you when they're needed. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, consider sharing this episode with them. That's one of the ways this work reaches the people who need it the most. You can find me on Instagram at Cindy Payne Rooted, and you can also visit me at cindypayne.com, where you'll find all episode links, blog posts, practice updates, and a free people-pleasing style quiz designed to help you notice your patterns with more compassion. And remember, every small step towards healing, self-trust, and presence matters. You are worthy of this journey. Thanks, everyone.